So I don't often give horror series a lot of play, and I definitely should do that more. And I kind of wanted to do it with this one because I have this sort of tug of war now with this show. I know it got some different feedback depending on how you took in the story and how you kind of were part of the story. It's a Peacock original. It's called Teacup, and essentially there was I still kind of don't fully understand why Teacup was the name they decided to give it. I get that it's unique. I get what its connection to the overall story is, but it could have been maybe something a little bit better, or maybe just that's something that's lost upon me. But I did find that the show itself was very, very good. Like the show itself is just it's such a weird sort of way of maybe this story like this story probably would have also been good as just a movie if you kind of just did the story and didn't try to lead into something else, because unfortunately if you were into the series, or if you weren't into the series, there is the one season. It's already been canceled. All right, that's the other thing, is that they didn't give enough of a chance for this to do anything with, because they kind of have already canceled it after its first season, and it left off on a cliffhanger that basically is going to leave us with nothing. And that's just the most common thing now. And I didn't think Peacock, of all places, would do that. But yeah, I guess Peacock's doing it too, because Netflix does it, HBO does it. Actually, no, I shouldn't say that. I don't think HBO has really done that. I think HBO usually sees fit to end their things. But a lot of networks and channels do it. They just don't give things chances. So maybe somebody else might pick this up. I think Teacup might be good on Shudder if they want to do a second season and kind of maybe wrap things up a little bit. I do like the kind of world building they were trying to do. But even if they just sort of maybe nicked the last 15, maybe 10 minutes of that last episode and did a flip on how it actually ended, then this might have been good as a mini series. But because nobody did that and they didn't think they were going to get canceled, it's not going to go anywhere. So you might get disappointed once it ends. But I do like that at least what it leads up to is the ending. They put a nice bow on the story as it was so far for the show. They just opened up a door for the show to continue. So you're not going to get that, but you could still enjoy what the show did. So essentially what happens is we're talking about, it takes place in this sort of rural area. It's a bunch of farmers. They all kind of know each other, but they're all great distances away from each other. One of them happens to be a vet, and for some reason, out of nowhere, this thing happens where they are enclosed in by what is like this invisible force field that if you pass, you basically disintegrate. It's very much like unknown for a good portion of it what is actually happening, but everybody is afraid because there are people in masks showing up. They don't know if it's like government or alien. And of course, it eventually turns out to be alien, but the alien is just so. It's so unspoken of like what it is that there's still a sort of. There's a little something they add to it. They put a little extra salt in the pasta water. You know what I'm saying? There's something that they do that doesn't make it 100% feel like it's a cliche alien story, because the alien isn't a being. It isn't a solid, like, tangible creature, or, it's not a gray alien. It's not a 50-foot tall monster. It's like an airborne psychedelic mind control spirit. It's probably the best way I could kind of come up with it to really explain it to you. If you could think of a better way, if you're somebody who's watched it, then you could think of this idea a little bit like better and explain it in the comments. That's the best way I can describe it. It's a mind controlling spirit that's from another planet, and essentially what it is that one of them, because there's multiple spirits, one of them takes hold of the main family's younger son and tells them that I'm being hunted by the superior form of my beings, the mind controlling air aliens, and he's trying to find me and hunt me down and kill me, and they can pass between people via air, and they take them over, and that's the only way that they can kind of survive. They can't survive outside. I don't recall if anybody actually kills one of them. Yes, they can be killed. Yes, they can be killed. I won't say how they can be killed, but there is a way that they figure it out. I mean, I guess I could probably say it. Again, this is a show that was from last year. I didn't really get to see it until this summer because it was just on my radar. I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch this eventually. You know, it's already got its first season out. And I want to say I watched it around, I don't know, maybe June of this summer. And then I was like, oh, this was really good. And that's when I discovered that by, I think it came out like in August of 2024, the end of August 24, close to the winter. And then I watched it in June, and then I went back and I discovered at the beginning of this year, January or February, they had just canceled it. So I watched it even after the cancellation, so I was even more so like a little disheartened that we are not going to get any conclusion. But the show is really good. The show is really good. Don't let anything fool you that it's not good. It's very well paced. The mystery of it all is just very engaging. It gets you hooked really, really quickly, and that's what I really get kept for. And I know there are some things that are probably lacking a bit, like if you're not really willing to kind of give some imagination to maybe some character development, you're not really going to get who a lot of people are and what their relationships are, but they try to lead it forward with dialogue, and maybe some of the dialogue could have been tweaked a little bit. Just giving them a little bit better choices of phrases or something that would allow some better character development. Like, it's enough to get the gist of it, but it's not enough to really care about a lot of people. You start to care about a lot of certain ones that the focus is on, but there's too many of them to really say you care about all of them. So by the end of it, when you see the survivors, you're like, you only maybe care about half of them. And that's not because of a lack of trying. They just didn't give them enough. So I do see that as a big complaint that I do tend to agree with. And probably, I would say the biggest problem I have with the series is that it's essentially based on a novel that's called Stinger. And the novel is written by a guy, Robert R. McCammon. I believe is how you say it. McCammon, maybe. And he's this novelist who's written a couple of books, and Stinger was one of them. It was a bestseller, and I think it won or was nominated for a Bram Stoker Award. It's not that book. Because when the movie ended, I was like, I really want to read this book now. I found the book, I started reading it, and within the first 2 chapters, immediately, like, not even within the first 5 pages, it's immediate that this is such a loose adaptation. I don't even know I haven't finished the book yet, but I don't even 100% know what the show actually takes from the book. Besides that, maybe the production company just owned the rights to the book and they're like, hey, let's tweak this other show that we're trying to get greenlit, say it's based on this book, so we can keep the rights to the book, but it's really not the book. And we'll just say it is. Like, I still haven't found anything within the first 30 or 40 pages, anything that really connects it to what was actually put on screen in the first 2 or 3 episodes. And to me, if you're going to adapt something, there has to be a correlation almost immediately. If you're telling me that something is adapted from a comic book or a video game or an old novel or a poem or folklore, I have to feel what the basis is, what the root foundation builder of that is. And if I already know it, or if I don't know it, if I find out, and then if I look into it, and it's something that's you took such a detour from, it puts a bad taste in my mouth. I'm one of those people that I'm a real stickler for adaptations that stick to the source material, because the source material is like that for a reason. I forget who it was. I think it was like an executive producer on that Amazon show for the Fallout video game series. I think he said something, or it might have been the Halo one. I forget what channel the Halo ones are. But one of them had said something along the lines of, why do people want to see us adapt the game verbatim? You play the game. You should want to see it adapted something different, but it's still part of that universe. Like, no, we fucking don't. We want to see word for word, scene for scene, exactly what it was originally put as, because that's what we liked. The reason that you're adapting is because it became popular for some reason. And when it became popular and you decided to go do this other version of it, don't fucking change things. Why would you do that? Look at the friggin' Last of Us. I mean, I know a lot of people don't like the second season of The Last of Us, but the first episode of that first season is pretty much scene for scene 90 to 95% accurate with what we get in the video game. That's why that first season was so tremendous. That's why people really gave The Last of Us Just Fighting chance, because they saw that they were really taking what they did in the video game, what Naughty Dog was doing for the story, and they just gave it live action. They made it a thing that you could visually see that isn't a video game, that you're not playing, and still feel that raw emotion from the video game. That's a perfect adaptation. That's matching two things together. That's circle, circle, square, square. Why are you giving me square and rectangle? I don't care that you want to make changes. Stick to the source material, because that's the only reason that it's popular. It's popular from source material. So the fact that I found out that this was based on a book, I found the book, I started reading the book, and I immediately saw that the show is not 100% connected to that book. I'm a little annoyed. I do still like the show, but now I have to feel like it's disconnected from what it claims to be the source material until I find something in the book that's going to connect it. Because the only thing that connects it is it's in two rural places. This one takes place in farmland. The book takes place in fucking someplace in Texas where they're basically shutting down because it's too hot, and all of the mills are shutting down because of global warming or something. Like, it's two completely different environment settings. It's two completely different family dynamics. Everything is different within the first few pages in comparison to the story that it starts building. So I don't get where it became a thing that they decided to tie this into this book. And the book is really good. For everything I've read so far, the book is very, very good. And the story is good for this show, but just don't connect it to the book. If you're somebody who might go out there and find it and you'll see what I'm talking about, you're gonna see that you have to disconnect it and realize that this is just some producer who's throwing the book's name in there just so they don't have to get rid of the rights to it. Because this guy has written a few books. I don't believe anything else became anything, so I think this is his first adaptation from any of his work. He's got another one that's coming out. So apparently he's got this book, Swan Song, and apparently as of 2024, the novel was going to be adapted into a television series with Greg Nicotero writing and directing. Oh, this guy's done a lot of The Walking Dead. Okay. I don't know what Swan Song is. Maybe I'll try to find this book and I'll read the book before the show comes out. But yeah, I don't know. If you're willing to give a series a chance, that's just a kind of short run. You know, it's like 30 or 40-minute episodes. It's worth it for just its story, but don't expect it to be an adaptation that's worthwhile if you're somebody who likes reading the books that things are based on. You're not going to be satisfied with that.